Many wrestlers come and go from the WWE, and a wrestler leaving the company can be for a variety of reasons. And while we see many wrestlers leave and then come back, there are many who simply just aren't welcomed by the WWE to come back, and you could say are blacklisted from the WWE. And today we're going to discuss a few of those cases of wrestlers who probably won't ever be returning to the WWE. So like the video and let's talk about it. Let's talk about WWE wrestlers who were blacklisted. Before signing to the WWE, Nash Carter was known as Zachary Wentz and was a part of the Rascals tag team alongside Desmond Xavier. They had a very good run on the indies, working promotions all across the country, and before being signed to Impact Wrestling, well, they would remain until 2020 when they were picked up by the WWE, as Desmond and Zachary both signed to the WWE on December 2nd, 2020, and their ring names were changed to Wesley and Nash Carter respectively. And their new team name was now MSK, and MSK were a very quick hit in the WWE, and they debuted on the January 13th, 2021 NXT as part of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and over the next few weeks MSK would defeat Jake Atlas and Isaiah Scott, Drake Maverick and Killian Dane, Legado del Fantasma, and then the grizzled young veterans in the final to win the whole damn thing. One of the best starts to a WWE career in history, and it came at a good time as well, as just a month later the NXT tag titles were vacated, and with their Dusty Cup win, MSK were automatically the top contenders, and they would face GYV and Legado del Fantasma for those vacant belts at Stand and Deliver 2021, which they would win, and in just 5 matches, MSK had won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Classic and the tag titles. What a start. MSK would defend the title successfully against teams like Imperium, Mello and Trick, Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, and many more teams across the NXT roster, holding the titles for 202 days before dropping them to the aforementioned Imperium on the Halloween Havoc episode of NXT. It would be their final match of the year, and what a year it was for them. And they'd start 2022 the same way they started their WWE careers, in the Dusty Tag Classic, and they'd make it to the finals once again, but this time would not come out on top and would lose in the finals. But even though they'd lost, they'd get involved in the title picture once again and would challenge Imperium for the belts at Stand and Deliver, and would win the belts once again to become 2-time tag champions. However though, this tag title run would end up getting cut short after controversy that had been going on in the background came to a head. You see, Nash Carter's ex-partner and indie wrestler Kimberly had accused Nash of domestic abuse in a series of posts in 2022, and this entire drama was going on in the background whilst Nash Carter was in NXT, and these claims were denied by Nash, and other people around the situation disputed the claims as well, such as his tag partner Wesley's wife, who engaged in a war of words with Kimberly and disputed her claims. But where it ended up hitting the fan was when Kimberly leaked a photo of Nash mimicking a certain political figure from the past, and the existence of this photo would end up getting Nash Carter released from the WWE just days after winning the NXT tag titles. Nash would apologize for the photo, with wrestlers coming to his defense and supporting Nash following his firing, and Nash has since returned to using the Zachary Wentz name, reforming the Rascals with Trey Miguel, and has not been seen or heard of in WWE since. Drew Gulak first started appearing for WWE during the summer of 2016 in the Cruiserweight Classic tournament. Prior to this, Gulak was a stalwart of the US indie scene, having wrestled everywhere in the States and being a big influence on the scene. He made it to the second round of the Cruiserweight Classic tournament, where he was eliminated by Zack Sabre Jr. on July 14th, 2016, but from here he was officially signed to the WWE as part of the Cruiserweight division. He was just a regular heel jobber at first, as the Cruiserweight division was very quickly pushed to the side by WWE, but when 205 Live came around he would start to show more character, as he would take on a gimmick that would see him being an anti-high flyer and wanting a better 205 Live. He would protest by holding no-fly zone signs and presenting PowerPoints every week with his suggestions on how to improve 205 Live. It was probably the most entertaining act in the entire division, and he challenged for the title a few times that year but never came out successful, and going into 2018 would get rid of the PowerPoint gimmick and just become a submission specialist. It wouldn't be until Stomping Grounds 2019 when Gulak won his first and long overdue Cruiserweight Championship, defeating Tony Nese for the belt. He'd hold the belt for about 3.5 months before losing it to Lio Rush in October, and then was drafted to SmackDown, where maybe his career in the WWE was about to get a new beginning. But once again, he just started jobbing out again, but in 2020 did get a little bit of a program with Daniel Bryan, which saw him face him on a pay-per-view in a great match and even team with him for a bit. But the team would fade away after Bryan went off TV during the pandemic, and Gulak had a short-lived departure from the WWE as his contract expired, but he was back literally 2 weeks later. And he'd spend the next few years doing various things, jobbing, being an authority figure, a road agent, and even a backstage interviewer. But in late 2022, he went to NXT, and the next year he'd start the No Quarter Catch crew alongside Charlie Dempsey, Damon Kemp, and Miles Bourne. It seemed like Gulak had finally found his footing as the Catch crew got regular TV time for the next year in NXT. However, Drew Gulak's career would end up crashing down out of nowhere. In April 2024, Ronda Rousey did an interview talking about her experience in the WWE and talked about a time in 2022 where Gulak randomly grabbed the pull strings of her pants to her discomfort. Drew Gulak would respond by saying it was an accident after he went for a handshake, but WWE have seemingly taken these accusations seriously as he was written off TV and out of the Catch crew stable instantly. There's no return date in sight for Drew Gulak, and whilst he's still technically signed to the WWE, it looks like he might never return, and his departure at this point just feels like a waiting game. Enzo Amore was signed to the WWE in 2012 despite no prior wrestling experience, as by chance, himself and Triple H shared the same trainer, and that trainer showed Triple H a video of Enzo cutting a promo, and thus Enzo was offered a tryout and eventually signed. He originally used the ring name of Eric Anthony, but that quickly changed to what we would know him for his entire time in WWE, Enzo Amore. He debuted on the May 22nd, 2013 episode of NXT, debuting as a heel, playing what can only be described as a cocky, Jersey Shore-esque character. He debuted getting squashed, but a few short weeks later, Enzo Amore would pair himself with Colin Cassidy, a man who would come to be known as Big Cass, and the two would turn face and begin pursuit of the NXT Tag Championships. And they started off as a mid-card team, but after Enzo Amore get injured when, according to Simon Gotch from the critically acclaimed video Simon Gotch Shoots on Enzo Amore, he broke his leg doing a wrist lock. The team would be put on pause for a bit, but when Enzo did return in April 2014 and reunite with Cass, they'd also be joined by Carmella shortly after, and this period in NXT with these three as a trio was probably Enzo Amore's prime in his NXT career, and they would get mega over, mainly thanks to Enzo Amore's mic skills and his intro that he would do during their entrance. Something about certified G's, 7 foot tall, and not being able to teach it. In 2015, Enzo, Cass, and Carmella became stars in NXT as they had numerous tag title shots and programs, feuding with FTR, who they challenged for the tag titles at Roadblock 2016 unsuccessfully, but with how over they were, WrestleMania being near, and the fact they didn't win, a main roster call-up was surely imminent. And sure enough, on the Raw after WrestleMania 32 in 2016, Enzo and Cass debuted on the main roster, and whilst they were without Carmella, they debuted to an insane pop and reaction from the crowd, interrupting the Dudley Boys. They very quickly established themselves as one of the top teams in the tag division, but they would have a bit of a setback when at Payback 2016 in a match against the Vaudevillains, Enzo would get concussed by his sworn arch nemesis Simon Gotch. And when Enzo returned from injury a few months later, despite the fact they were very over, they were mainly used as a mid-card team, and they were getting good TV time and involved in big matches on pay-per-view, such as teaming with John Cena against the Club at Battleground and facing Jericho at SummerSlam. Those both of course in 2016, and they were of course in the 4-way Raw Tag Title ladder match at Mania 33, but they were just never a top team, and WWE seemed like they wanted to push Big Cass as a solo star instead, and thus a couple of months later, Enzo and Cass broke up after Cass turned on Enzo, and Enzo Amore would go solo for the first time in his WWE career. And this next year was very hectic, as Enzo would switch over to the Cruiserweight division and would very quickly win the Cruiserweight title, which was a very controversial decision for the time, mainly because he won it from Neville, and apparently this is what caused Neville to leave the company. Enzo also reportedly had heat backstage, and also this title reign would end up getting cut short after controversy that he found himself in. Enzo Amore was set to defend the title against Cedric Alexander at the Royal Rumble, but on January 22nd, 2018, he was suspended from the company, as it was confirmed the same day by the Phoenix Police Department that Enzo had been under investigation since October 2017 for alleged SA. And the next day, Enzo Amore's suspension was turned into a firing, as he was fired from the WWE while the champion, and the title was vacated. And he was fired due to his failure to inform WWE of the investigation, which he claims he wasn't aware he was under until it was made public. The investigation would continue up until May 16, 2018, when the Phoenix Police Department ceased their investigation due to insufficient evidence. And since leaving the WWE, Enzo sure has done a lot. He got into a fight with Joey Janela at a Blink-182 concert, released a few dreadful rap songs, destroyed Ring of Honor in the one appearance he made for them, and wrestled for and got fired by MLW. Oh, and who can forget Survivor Series 2018, just 6 months after his firing, when Enzo Amore snuck into the crowd in a disguise and revealed himself mid-show before being kicked out. Absolutely wild times. Guys, that's it from me. Make sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe to see more wrestling content and be the first to see it. I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, and keep on rolling.